Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Wielded Elemental Powers in a Quirkless World Part 1. Before we start, please go support Luis on 2234V for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Deku is a male. Izuku Midoriya, a boy who is accepted by the heirloom family, giving him great abilities, will become the #1 vigilante defending them all, including them. Quirkless World. Clarifications. This world will be without quirks. In Chapter 1 we will see how the protagonist gets them. The Yakuza and the League of Villains are very powerful mafias. Top 10 heroes are police officers with great skill. Izuku will grow as the story progresses. The Elemental Gem. 20 years ago. Shit, it was supposed to be a secret, now why does everyone know it? This annoying guy said. Yakuza, give me the Ikoku stone Midoriya, and no one will die today, he said in his calm tone. Ikoku, oh yeah, and tell me what are you going to do with her? He said, trying to gain time. Yakuza, you don't care, but how will you die? I'll tell you, that gem that your family has been protecting for years is capable of giving a human unimaginable powers, powers which humanity has never seen, with which the bearer of these powers will be invincible. Just imagine being the owner of the whole world. But for that I need you to give me the Ikoku stone, he said, a little more annoyed. Ikoku, okay, take it, he said, handing her a box. Yakuza, yes, he said while laughing. I finally have the gem, he said, opening the box, but realized that it contained nothing. Ikoku, I'm not in the mood for games, he said angrily. Ikoku, look at me, Yakuza, after more than 100 years carrying that gem, at 50 years old I must pass it on to someone else to take care of it until the gem finds a worthy bearer. You will never be able to use it, since my daughter has it, and she left Japan. So you lost, he said with a smile, but the Yakuza shot him in the head, killing him instantly. Yakuza, shit, now I have to track them down, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I'll get it, this guy said angrily. 20 years later. Detroit Hospital, United States. 20 hours. We see a green-haired woman next to her husband in a hospital room. The woman was giving birth, and she was holding on to her husband's hand to endure the pain. The hours passed, and the birth was a success. The sound of a baby crying began to be heard. The baby was taken to the mother's arms, where she would see him with a smile full of maternal love. Inko, so Hisashi, what will we name our son? She said with a tired voice. Hisashi, his name will be Izuku Midoriya, he said with a smile so that the baby started laughing. Inko, you like your name Izuku, she said with little strength. Hisashi, honey, you need to sleep, you were in labor for more than 4 hours. Relax, he said to carry Izuku and make Inko close her eyes. After a while, Inko woke up, already relieved, and together with her husband they went home with the new member of the Izuku Midoriya family. 4 years later. Hisashi was returning from work to have lunch with his family. Hisashi, I'm back. Izuku, Dad, he said, throwing himself at his father. Hisashi, hello champion, how are you? He said, caressing Izuku's head. Inko, it's good that you're here, honey. Lunch is almost ready, she said with a smile. Hisashi, wow, that's good, I'm starving, he said with a smile. Izuku, Dad, he said, upset. Hisashi, what's up, Izuku? He said, sitting on the sofa. Izuku, in the basement, I found a box full of toys, can I take it down? He said, jumping for joy. Hisashi, sure Izuku, he said with a smile, just be careful, he said this just so Izuku would run away. Inko, it's very imperative, she said with a smile. Hisashi, yes, but for now, we are alone, he said this while starting to kiss Inko. Inko, honey, not here, she said blushing. Hisashi, come on, Izuku is not here, he said following her kissing. Inko, you're right, she said following the kisses to Hisashi. In the basement. Izuku, damn, where did I leave that box? He said, searching everywhere, here, over here, where did I put it? He said, crying comically. Izuku continued searching until he came to a fortress of boxes that mysteriously hid a box inside them. Izuku, thinking that this could be his box, slowly approaches it. But before Izuku opened the box it began to shine, Izuku, instead of getting scared, only got more excited, thinking that there could be a toy that shined and still had a battery. Without thinking twice, he opened the box, and what he saw disappointed him, but at the same time impressed him. Izuku had seen a red gem in the shape of a ruby. Izuku, wow, it's beautiful. I think I'll give it to Mom, he said with a smile. Izuku tried to take it. The gem began to shine in a deep red. Izuku, scared, tried to run, but he could not move. He with fear began to see how the gem floated and quickly went towards him, pointing to his chest with the tip in front. The tip of the gem began to insert itself, causing Izuku to give loud cries of pain. The gem was entering Izuku's chest right where it is centered on heart. In the kitchen. Inko, those screams? Hisashi, Izuku, he said, worried, so the two went up to the basement, but what they saw would leave them shocked. What's going on, he said, scared. Izuku, Dad, it hurts, he said, crying. Izuku's finished gem inserting itself into his chest under Inko's blank gaze. Inko, the gem, she said, stuttering. The gem accepted it, she said in shock. Hisashi, as if the gem accepted it, he said, worried about Izuku. Inko, calm down, I'll tell you everything, but now, we have to let Izuku rest, she said with a smile that seemed strange to Hisashi. After that, and under the strange gaze of Hisashi, Inko with a proud smile took Izuku to the sofa, waiting for him to wake up so she could tell him everything with her husband. After a while, Izuku woke up, checked his chest, and indeed, he had a small gem embedded in it. He would try to remove it, but a discharge prevented him from doing so, causing him pain. But before he started cursing, Inko and Hisashi arrived. Inko, okay, sit down both of you, she said this seriously so that the two would follow orders. Okay, first of all, Izuku, what comes out of here you will not tell any friend, she said this seriously. Izuku, but I don't have any friends, Mom, he said innocently. Inko, that's perfect because we're moving, he said, surprising the two, but first I'll tell you a story, he said this seriously so that the two of them could stare for centuries. The Midoriya family has been protecting the power gem, he said this seriously. You'll wonder what it is. Well, the power gem is a very powerful gem, which will allow a worthy user of this to carry unimaginable but dangerous powers, he said this, scaring Izuku. With that gem the family gained enemies who want that gem for evil. So that's why my grandfather gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me, hoping that one day someone would be worthy of carrying it. And I think that someone arrived, he said, looking at Izuku. This gem is in the sight of dangerous people, like the Yakuza. That's why we will return to Japan, he said this, impressing the two. You must train Izuku. You must become strong to finally end this danger that has been chasing the family since its beginning, she said this so that Izuku smiled determinedly. Izuku, I will do it, Mom, he said with a smile, but he started to think, so I have powers? He said excitedly. Inko, that's right, son, she said with a smile. Hisashi, and what can you do? This unbeliever said. Inko just took a glass of water and threw the water at Izuku. He only covered himself with his arms, but when he realized that he didn't get wet, he took off his arms, and like Hisashi, he was surprised because the water was floating. Izuku, I do that? He said, impressed and confused. Inko, yes, the power of the Izuku gem is to be able to control the 4 elements. Izuku, and what are these? He said, impressed. Inko, air, earth, fire, and water, she said, impressing Izuku and Hisashi. Hisashi, so you can control all that? He said, still not believing it. Inko, yes, but for now we will have to return to Japan, he said seriously, looking at Hisashi. Hisashi, okay, he said to take his phone and make some calls ready. We leave in 3 days, he said seriously. Izuku, then we will have to say goodbye to Detroit, he said sadly. Inko, yes, Izuku, I'm sorry, he said sadly for his son. Izuku, it doesn't matter, he said with a smile. Now my highest priority is to learn to control these powers, he said, but was surprised to see how his hand caught fire. He said, waving his hand, but the fire did not go out. Inko, Izuku, stop, she said this so that Izuku would stay still. You notice how it doesn't burn you, she said this, surprising Izuku since she was right. He didn't feel any pain. Hisashi, wow, that could be very useful, he said with an incredulous smile. Izuku, now what do I do to turn it off? He said, less alarmed. Inko, just relax and think about what you want to put out, she said this so that Izuku would do what she said and the fire in his hand would go out. Izuku, great, he said with stars in his eyes. Inko. Izuku, look at me carefully, she said seriously, this is an unimaginably powerful power. It should not be taken lightly. You should not tell anyone. Anyone who knows the secret is in danger, she said this so that Izuku would nod. Izuku, oh, nobody, he said with a smile. Hisashi just watched this with a proud smile that his son was so brave. After that, the Midoriya family said goodbye to their acquaintances and packed their bags. The 3 days passed and they went to the Detroit airport with a direct trip to Japan. The three had a middle-class ticket, and the trip was smooth without any inconvenience, and they arrived in Japan. Quickly they went to the place where Hisashi had rented an apartment to stay. The house of the original anime. Then the three of them arrived, and just as they arrived they went out to a nearby forest to start as soon as possible. Inko, okay, ready Izuku, your training begins here, she said seriously. Izuku, yes, he said with a smile. Training and my first friend. Forest in the outskirts of Musudafu. We find an Izuku in a meditation pose next to his mother. Inko, look Izuku, you just have to relax your mind, imagine 4 flames, but 3 of them are different, each of those 3 are the different element apart from fire. Imagine the 4 flames, a flame of fire, 1 of earth, 1 of water, and 1 of air. She said this so that Izuku would not now imagine that the fire one grows. She said this so that Izuku would start releasing fire from his arms. Izuku, I feel my arms warm, he said without taking his concentration. Inko, now imagine that the flame of fire is split in half and the missing half is water. She said this so that Izuku would have fire in one arm and water in the other. Very well, son, now the last training of today, try to change the shape of the element. Imagine that flame becomes a plate. She said this so that Izuku would create a plate of fire and another of water. Izuku, well done, he said standing up but falling instantly. I'm very exhausted, he said on the ground. Inko, don't push yourself anymore, son, you did a lot today, a great advance, we'll be back tomorrow, she said while carrying Izuku. Izuku, yes mama, he said with a smile. After that Inko took Izuku to her house where he rested a bit. After recovering, Izuku got up and went down to see where his mother and father were eating. Inko, hey Izuku, are you going to do something? She said with a smile. Izuku, can I go to the park? He said with a smile. Hisashi, yes, but be careful Izuku, he said with a smile. Inko, and remember, don't tell anyone, she said seriously. Izuku, yes mom, he said this to leave. Hisashi, do you think it's okay? He said seriously. Inko, yes, I trust that he will tell no one, and he also has to make friends. She said this so that Hisashi smiled. With Izuku. Izuku was arriving at the park when he saw something that bothered him. He saw a group of children hitting a girl with black hair and blue eyes with branches. Izuku quickly approached to see what was happening, and what bothered him was seeing the girl who was crying, and these children did not stop. Please stop, she said crying. Bakugo, no, why should we? He said laughing. Minions 1, yes, and you are also very strange, you never smile, he said mockingly. Minions 2, she's definitely someone bad, and as good guys we should finish her off, he said, hitting the girl harder. Bakugo, what is this? He said picking up a stick with thorns. No please, she said with fear. The girl, seeing the stick with thorns coming towards her face, just closed her eyes waiting for a blow that never came. When the girl opened her eyes she saw a boy a little taller than her with green hair holding the branch with his hand where a few drops of blood fell. Izuku, you know, it's not very nice of guys to hit people who have nothing to do with it, he said with a frown. Bakugo, oh yeah, you better go before it's your turn too, he said with a proud smile. Izuku, yes, I think that's not going to happen, he said, snatching the stick from Bakugo's hand, causing him to scream from the touch of the thorns. Bakugo, my hand, he said crying, you'll see, I'll get my revenge, he said running with his henchmen. Then Izuku quickly approached the girl who was on the ground. Izuku, are you okay? He said in a worried tone watching as the girl wiped away her tears. What's your name? I'm Izuku Midoriya, but you can call me Izuku, he said with a smile. Yui, my name is Yui Kodai, she said in a shy tone. Izuku, are you okay? He said worried about his new friend. Yui, yes, I'm fine, she said looking at the boy's hand, but you're not. Your hand is bleeding. It's my fault, she said sadly. Izuku, no, it's not your fault. He said this so that Yui could see those kids were bothering you. I couldn't allow them to hurt you. He said this with a smile that made the girl smile too. Yui, you, she said this confusing Izuku. You can call me you, she said with a smile. Izuku, oh well you, do you want to play? He said showing a ball. Yui, yes, she said with a smile, leaving aside her serious side. After playing all afternoon, Izuku and Yui decided to play there again the other day at the same time. After Izuku left and arrived with his mother. Izuku, Mom, I made a friend, he said, jumping from one side to the other excitedly. Inko, oh that's good, Izuku, and tell me what his name is, she said with a smile. Izuku, her name is Yui. Yui cold-eyed, but she let me call her you, he said smiling. Inko, that's good, son, and when will you see her again? She said with a smile. Izuku, tomorrow at the park at the same time, he said smiling. Inko, well, okay, but first come eat, you must be tired, she said, making Izuku sit down. Izuku, where's Dad? He said confused. Inko, well Izuku, you know that your father works a lot, she said with a sad smile. Izuku, oh well, I was just hoping to see him today, but it doesn't matter, he said with a smile. I'm going to sleep. I already want it to be tomorrow, he said smiling as he headed to his room. In that you see a silhouette leaving the room. Sorry, so that's the child that the stone chose, she said with a serious face. Inko, yes Mom, Izuku was chosen by the stone, she said with a proud smile. Sorry, but when will you tell him? She said seriously. Inko, I don't know, she said with a worried look. Saori, remember, the destiny of the rock bearer is to die defeating the rock bearer of the negative elements. Remember that. The Yakuza are looking for the stone to be able to unite the two and have unlimited power. You must train it as soon as possible, she said seriously. Inko, I know, and I'm already training him. You know that in his first training he managed to shape the elements, she said proudly. Saori, really? She said this to earn a nod from Inko. Well, who knows that boy is the one who will finally end all that, she said with a smile. That boy will be great, she said to earn a nod from Inko. The next day. We see a very excited Izuku looking at the clock. Izuku, come on, he said looking at his watch. Inko, what are you doing, son? She said confused. Izuku, it's almost time to go see you, he said this so Inko would smile. Inko, well son, remember that you can't tell him anything, she said seriously. Izuku, yes Mom, I know, he said with a smile. Inko, well, when you come we will train, she said with a smile. Izuku, okay, oh look, it's about time, he said as he left. I'll be back later, Mom, he said as he closed the door. Inko, yes son, later, she said smiling. Izuku arrived at the park. He was happy to see his new friend again, but he was annoyed to find the same scene as yesterday. Bakugo and two boys bothering Yui. Izuku, hey kid, leave her alone, he said, annoyed. Bakugo, oh boy, it's you again, he said with a smile. Good thing I can get revenge now, he said, trying to hit Izuku, but he dodged it in a reflex action, headbutting Bakugo in the stomach, which knocked the air out of him. You'll pay for this, he said while his two henchmen carried him away. Izuku, hey you, are you okay? He said with a smile, extending his hand to Yui. Yui, yes, thank you, she said, giving Izuku a kiss on the cheek. Let's play? She said with a smile. Izuku, yeah, let's go, he said this one too happily. After that Izuku and Yui played with each other, talked, got to know each other even more until Yui's mother came for her. Yui daughter, it's time to go, she said, calling Yui. Yui, I'm coming Mom, she said, coming to her mother and whispering something in her ear. Yui, oh, so you're the one who helped my daughter, she said with a smile looking at Izuku. Izuku, yes ma'am, he said with a smile. Your daughter is my first friend, I couldn't let her get hurt, he said with a smile. Yui, how nice, you are also my daughter's first friend, she said this so that Yui would blush. Izuku, is that true you? He said impressed. Yui, why yes, she said nervously. Yui, okay boy, let's see when you tell your mother to go to dinner at our house. I would like to meet her, she said, thinking how about this Saturday, she said with a smile looking at Izuku. Izuku, I would love to, he said with a smile. What do you say you? He said looking at her. Yui, that would be great, she said with a smile leaving her serious side. Yui, Well, then when you get home give this to your mother, she said, writing on a piece of paper and giving it to her. Well, daughter, let's go, she said, taking Yui by the hand. Yui, yes, mom, see you tomorrow. Aizawa, she said goodbye to Izuku. Izuku, yes, see you tomorrow, he said as he left to go home. When he got home, he saw his mother in the living room watching television, so he gave her the letter that Yui's mother sent him. Letter. Good afternoon, Miss Inko. Izuku told me that you are his mother. I would love for you to come to dinner with us on Saturday to get to know each other. Since our children are friends, I would like us to too. If you decide to come, it would be a pleasure. It would be on Saturday at 7 p.m. Herein. I'll be waiting for you. Inko, well, then we'll go, she said with a smile so that Izuku smiled. Izuku, yes, he said, giving a punch to the air. Well, I'm going to sleep, he said, yawning. Inko, like going to sleep, she said with a grim smile. Let's train, she said this so that Izuku reluctantly agreed. Izuku, yes, he said without spirit. Inko, come on son, cheer up, wouldn't you like to be able to protect Yui in the future? She said this so Izuku would smile. Izuku, yes, he said with more encouragement. Inko, well, then let's go, she said, to go to the same forest with Izuku. That's not it, is it? Inko, come on son, you can do it, just give them a bigger shape, she said, supporting her son. Izuku, mom, I'm tired, he said from the ground. Inko, okay, let's rest. Looks at her watch. Look at the time, it's super late. Come on, son, she said, taking Izuku in her arms to start running. After that, the two arrived at their house where they began to get ready since today they would be dinner with the Kodai. After that, the two got ready and left, but not before telling Hisashi where they would go. He could not go because he had to continue working, but I wish them luck. They arrived at the Kodai house where they rang the doorbell to see a Yui come out dressed in a white dress and overalls. Yui, seeing Izuku, put on a smile from ear to ear and pulled him by the arm inside. Inko looked at this with a smile until Yui's mother arrived. Sayuki, oh, you must be Inko, she said with a smile. Inko, thank you for inviting us to dinner, she said while bowing. Sayuki, come on, there's no need to be so formal, come in. It seems Yui already took Izuku, she said laughing. Inko, I'm glad my son's first friend is such a sweet girl, she said with a smile. Sayuki, well, Izuku also seems to be a very good person, he said the same thing. After that, the two mothers went to the living room to get to know each other while the two children were in Yui's room. Izuku, wow, I didn't know you liked video games so much, he said excitedly. I like them too, he said, jumping. Yui, seriously, she said with a small blush of embarrassment. Izuku, yes, I'm a fan of big franchises like Pokemon, Mario Brothers, Zelda, Sonic, Star Fox. Wah, there are many, he said with stars in his eyes. Yui, seriously, she said the same. I also like Mario Brothers, it's my favorite. Do you want to play? She asked with excitement. Izuku, yes, he said excitedly so the two of them could start playing. After a while in which Yui and Izuku were playing, they were called to dinner. The two went down with a smile, and then sat down. Sayuki, well, I hope you like my cooking katsudon, she said, showing a tray. Yui/Izuku, yes, my favorite, they both said and looked at each other in amazement, and then laughed. Inko, it seems that they have a lot in common, son, he said while eating. Sayuki, yes, that's why I think you'll like the idea I'm going to tell you, she said this so that the two children could see it. Yui, starting next week you'll be in the same classroom as Izuku, she said this so that Yui would smile. Yui, really, mom? She said with a smile so Sayuki nodded yes, she said, hugging Izuku. Now we can be more friends, she said, hugging him tighter. Izuku, yes, he said this, being suffocated by Yui. After the two families ate, where Inko and Sayuki became better friends and Izuku and Yui went up to continue playing. After a while, Inko called Izuku. It was time to leave. The two said goodbye to the Kodai to leave, but not before Izuku and Yui met up the next day at the park. After that, Inko and Izuku arrived to find Hisashi finishing his work with a large cup of coffee. Inko came to her husband and whispered something in his ear inaudible to Izuku, which made Hisashi fill with energy and continued working to finish. After a short time he finished, which made them both happy. They told Izuku to go to sleep now and he accepted. He was very happy since his mother was congratulating his father as applause was heard. He just fell asleep. He couldn't wait until the next day to see Yui. The next day, we can see how Izuku put on some pants and a shirt that said shirt. After that he went to the park only to see how Yui was on a bench waiting for him with a smile. What Izuku had noticed, and had made him happy, is that Yui for some reason was serious with everyone but not with Izuku. He always gave her a smile which made Izuku feel special. Yui, Izuku, there you are late, she said with a pout. Izuku, sorry Yui, but hey, I'm here, he said, posing as if he was waiting for a hug. Yui just laughed at the green-haired boy's antics. Yui, let's play, she said, pulling him by the arm. Izuku, yes, he said, being pulled by Yui. Time skip. Bip-a-bip. 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 Izuku, shut up, he said, hitting the alarm clock, burning it because it released flames out of anger. Shit, there goes another one. Mom is going to kill me, he said, throwing his alarm clock into a box full of other broken alarm clocks. Well, train, he said, leaving his room and entering another one where it was practically a gym. Insert 50 cent from candy shop W. Izuku headed towards where there were some weights and began to lift them. They were 265 kilo weights. He began to lift them while with his 4 elements at the same time he lifted weights of 1 ton in total. Fire. He managed to create one that did not burn but rather served more to hold or attract things. It carried a weight of 250 kilos. And so also with the other elements that he managed to carry 250 kilos with each one. After lifting weights for half an hour I continued doing some sit-ups, then some squats, and then I started running on the treadmill, then I started doing stretches on a tube, then I continued doing legs, like this for 4 hours. It was 10 in the morning when a call came. Izuku, yes, he said behind the phone. Yui, Izuku, I'm already on my way to the cinema. I hope you don't take long, she said happily. Izuku, yeah, I'm coming, I'll just grab my wallet, I'll see you there, he said before hanging up. Yui, I talked to Izuku on the phone, she said with a blush and widened eyes. So? With Izuku. Izuku, damn, how could I forget my outing with Yui? He said, bathing as quickly as possible. I know my mother said not to use my powers for personal gain, but this is an emergency. Then Izuku turned into water and after 3 seconds he returned to his normal form. Now he was clean. After that he changed as quickly as possible and left him. Seems like a good idea, he said, looking at a river. Then Izuku turned into water and went down the river until he reached a part near the shopping center where the cinema was. He quickly became human again without anyone seeing him and ran to the cinema. When he arrived he could see in the distance how Yui was approaching. Yui, Izuku, she said, running. Sorry if I made you wait, she said, arriving dressed in a pink sweater and tight jeans. Izuku, how do I look? She said, blushing, walking around. Izuku, you look good, he said, raising his thumb. Yui, always so expressionless, she said, laughing. Izuku, oh look who says it, the girl who they thought was a robot, and I was her owner because only I made her smile, he said, laughing the same. Yui, you're my only friend, she said, playing with her fingers. Although I met 2 girls, she said, watching Izuku put on a proud smile. Are you okay? She said, confused. Izuku, yes, that's just that, I'm so proud of you, you finally made friends, he said, hugging Yui, blushing at her. Yui, and you, I haven't seen you hanging out with anyone, she said, looking at the green-haired boy. Izuku, it's just that no one is worthy, he said, making an exaggerated pose, making Yui laugh. Yui, hey, I have a question, you're fat and do you hide your stomach with all those clothes? Come on, no problem, I won't judge you, she said with a smile, looking at Izuku. Izuku, no, look, he said, pulling the sweater from behind, revealing that his abdomen was flat, but no muscles were visible. Yui, then why do you wear such baggy clothes? She said, confused. Izuku, I like it, she said, shrugging her shoulders. Yui, oh then go, she said this but did not finish because she saw 2 girls, one with orange hair and another with gray hair. Wait, I'll be back, she said, so that Izuku agreed. Then Yui went to greet her friends. Yui, Reiko, Itsuka, hello, she said with a neutral face. Itsuka, hi Yui, what a miracle, she said, laughing. Reiko, what are you doing here? She said with a smile. Izuku, I think I'll play a little joke on you, he said, approaching. Yui, well, I came here, but she couldn't finish speaking as she saw Izuku approaching. Izuku, hello beautiful, why are you alone? He said, taking Yui by the waist and sticking her close to him. Kendo, hey you moron, what's wrong with you? she said, annoyed. Reiko, let her go, she said the same. Izuku, come on sweetie, he said, bringing his lips closer to Yui's. Kendo, let her go, she said, about to hit the green-haired boy. Yui was blushing. Was Izuku going to kiss her? It was the best day of her life. When their lips were about to kiss, Izuku moved his head away and started laughing, confusing the three. Izuku, sorry for that little joke, he said, laughing. Yui, Izuku, she said, hitting him on the arm with a blush. Izuku, okay, sorry, he said, trying to stop Yui and seize the two girls. You must be the girls Yui told me about, he said, smiling. Nice to meet you, he said, shaking their hands. Kendo, who are you? She said, confused. Izuku, I'm Izuku Midoriya, Yui's best friend and the only one who can make her smile. Yui, it's not true, she said expressionlessly. Izuku, coriander, he said this so that Yui started laughing like crazy. Reiko and Kendo watched this in surprise as they had never seen Yui laugh. Reiko, how do you do it? She said in amazement. Izuku, first cereal then milk, a champion's recipe, he said, this making Yui laugh even more. Yui, she said, returning to her expressionless face. Well, I'm leaving, I'll see you at school, she said to leave with Izuku. Izuku, nice to meet you, he said goodbye as Yui was pulling him. The two girls only had a drop of sweat. After walking, they arrived at the movie theater where Yui faced Izuku. Yui, how could you do that, you idiot? She said, hitting Izuku in the chest. Izuku, yeah, it was just a joke, will you forgive me? He said, making the eyes of the cat with boots. Yui, stupid eyes, she said, cursing herself. You know what, we better go, she said with a smile to pull Izuku to the movie theater. Izuku, yes, he said, smiling. After they saw the movie, they went to eat, where they again found Kendo and Reiko about to eat, but they went to sit down and decided to wait for them to be able to eat together. What they didn't see was that in the distance a group of girls were watching them. I think I should go ask the green-haired guy out on a date, she said excitedly. I don't think you can, Setsuna, she said, laughing. If you don't dare, she said the same. Setsuna, come on, Kanoko, Pony, support me, she said, crying comically. Pony, okay, we'll support you from here, he said, raising his thumb. Setsuna, okay, she said, this to go. Kanoko, do you think I can do it? She said nervously. Pony, no, she said, to continue eating. The boys were eating quietly until they see Setsuna approaching. Setsuna, hey handsome, she said, looking at Izuku. Izuku, oh hey, what's up? He said with his protagonist smile and always polite, blushing. Setsuna. Yui just watched this with a vein on her forehead, annoyed. Setsuna, do you want to go on a date with me right now? She said, trying to pull the green-haired boy, but someone stopped her. Yui, I'm sorry friend, he has a girlfriend, she said, hugging Izuku. Setsuna, oh I'm sorry, I didn't know, forgive me, she said this among her thoughts. Kendo, no problem, now if you excuse us, she said, pointing at her food. Setsuna, oh yeah, no problem, she said this to leave. Damn, that guy will go out with me whether he wants to or not, she said this to leave with her friends. Izuku, Yui, there are times when I see you as my savior and there are others when I see you as my goddess, he said, blushing at Yui. Yui, well, I didn't want that chick to bother my best friend, she said with a smile. Izuku, hey Yui, I love you too, he said, crying comical tears. Kendo, and how did you meet? He said, observing the whole situation with a drop of sweat. Yui, I saved him from some kids who were bothering him in the park, she said, watching as Izuku looked at her with a look of, really? Izuku, yeah, sure, I saved her, he thought. Reiko, wow, and from that moment on they started talking to each other, she said, so that the two of them agreed. Izuku, yes, it was July 13th when we were 5 years old, he said, surprising Yui. Yui, do you remember? She said, impressed. Izuku, of course, it's the day I met my only and best friend, he said, hugging Yui. After that they continued talking, where Izuku got to know Kendo and Reiko better, and Setsuna heard more about Izuku because she was watching him from afar. After that, everyone said goodbye and returned to their homes. Obviously Izuku went to drop Yui off at hers. Yui, it was an amazing day, she said with a blush. Izuku, parsley, he said this so that Ibra started laughing again. Yui, hey, she said between tears of laughter. Izuku, there's nothing better than ending a good day with a good laugh, he said with a smile that made Yui blush. Yui, well, there's a better way, she said with a smile. Izuku, so what, this one didn't end because Yui had kissed his cheek. Yui, that's it, see you tomorrow at school, she said as she entered. Izuku, okay, he said, waving at her with all the innocence in the world and then leaving. Yui, did I really kiss him? She said with a smile. Sayuki, so that's the best way to end the day, huh? She said with a mischievous smile, making Yui blush. Yui, Mom, she said, blushing. Sayuki, don't worry, daughter, I approve, she said, raising her thumb. Yui, Mom, that's not it, she said while going up to her room blushing. Sayuki, they grow up so fast, she said, sighing. In Yui's room. Yui, who am I kidding if that's it, she said, hugging her pillow while a smile formed on her face. Izuku, she thus said to fall asleep. Trash. We found Izuku waking up because the phone started ringing. Izuku, hello, he said in a tired tone. Inko, son, hello honey, how are you? She said worriedly. Izuku, I'm fine, Mom, I'm doing great living alone, he said, laughing a little. Inko, you haven't neglected your training, have you? She said seriously. Izuku, not even a day, Mom, he said with a tired smile. Inko, okay, son, I have to go with your father. Remember, we'll be back in a year. Don't miss us so much. She said. This one is about to hang up. Izuku, shit, he calls me once a week and all he's interested in is this training shit. Well, no way, then what will I do today? He said, looking at his cell phone. Shit, it's Monday, he said, standing up quickly, but look at the time. Oh, it's 6, he said calmly. There's no hurry, he said, to start undressing to take a bath. After that he went down to have breakfast already with the uniform on and headed towards Yui's house. He knocked on the door to see how Sayuki came out to see who it was. Sayuki, Izuku, you're here, but what time is it? She said, confused. Izuku, it's already 7:30, ma'am, he said calmly, but felt a murderous aura behind him. Sayuki, I already told you how I want you to tell me, right? She said with a scary smile. Izuku, why yes, mother-in-law, he said with fear. I can face the strongest man in the world and beat him, but I'm afraid of this lady, he thought. Sayuki, well, Izuku, are you ready for your last day? She said happily. Izuku, yes, in 2 weeks there will be the UA exams, he said with a smile. Sayuki, yes, well, they should study hard since that school is very difficult to get into, she said, smiling. But what are we doing here? Come in, she said, so that Izuku could come in and sit down. Yui is still bathing, so let's talk. And tell me, is your mom still abroad? She said with a sad smile. Izuku, yes, it's been more than a year since he left, and he still has to stay another year, he said sadly. Sometimes I feel alone. Sayuki, but I already told you that you can come and stay here whenever you want, he said with a smile. Izuku, yes, I'll think about it, he said with a smile. After that they heard footsteps on the stairs and saw how Yui was going down with the UA uniform. Yui, Mom hasn't arrived yet, Izuku, she said, but blushed when she saw that he had already arrived. Izuku, good morning, Yui, he said with all the innocence in the world. Yui, to Izuku, good morning, she said with a smile and a blush. Izuku, well, are we going? He said with a smile. Yui, but I haven't had breakfast, she said nervously. Izuku, don't worry, it's early, I'll invite you to breakfast, let's go, he said, extending his hand. Yui took the green-haired boy's hand while Sayuki gave him a thumbs up, blushing. After that they went out until they reached a cafeteria where they had some pancakes courtesy of Izuku, who invited them to Yui. After that they left and arrived at school 5 minutes early. The day passed relatively calm. Nothing interesting happened other than Yui's blushes for Izuku and jealousy. Yes, jealousy. Since Izuku had become very popular at school, the handsome and muscular boy, innocent and who has not had any girlfriend, this drives the girls crazy. But Izuku cared less, he was calm with Yui. Many tried to become friends with Izuku because of his popularity, but he just ignored them and went to a lonely table with Yui. This day was going to be the same, but seeing that Yui was with her 2 friends, he decided not to interrupt her and went to eat on the roof. Yui, seeing how Izuku left, decided to follow him out of jealousy. But she only saw how the boy sat alone while looking at the sky. Yui, why didn't you sit with me? She said, pouting. Izuku, I just didn't want to bother you while you were with your friends. It seems they don't like me very much, he said, laughing. Yui, are you kidding? They loved being with you. They asked me why you didn't sit with us. Come on, let's go, he said, shaking her hand. After that, the day passed very quietly. Izuku ate with Yui and her new friends. After that, they went out and promised that they would see each other at Yui. Izuku took Yui to his house and she said goodbye with a kiss on the cheek and ran into his house with a blush. Izuku was only amused by this since Yui looked very tender. He was going to go to his house but remembered that he did not have food, so he went downtown to buy, but he realized that he had forgotten his wallet. He was going to buy only a yogurt. Cashier, 10 cents missing, this boring guy said. Izuku was going to take pennies from the completion box. I don't know what they are called in your country, but the completion box in stores is when you are missing a maximum of 5 quetzales, and you can take from there to complete. Oh, that's how it is in the currency of my country. Cashier, you can't drink from there, you have to spend at least 40 yen, he said angrily. Izuku, but it's only 10 cents, he said, somewhat annoyed. Cashier, it's not my problem, he said mockingly. Izuku, okay, she said this to turn around and walk away a little. At that moment, he sees how a robber was attacking the box. Izuku did not feel like being a hero. He was going to leave, but the robber whistled at him. Robber, take it, he said, throwing his yogurt at him. Izuku, thank you, he said, confused. Robber, no problem, he said as he ran away. At that moment, the cashier sees Izuku with annoyance. Cashier, why didn't you stop him? He said angrily. Izuku, it's not my problem, he said this to leave. Izuku went in the same direction he came from, but in the distance he saw a group of people. He came closer and saw something that broke his heart. He saw a child crying over his mother's corpse. Child, a bad man with long hair killed him. He had a little star drawing under his hand, he said, crying. Izuku at that moment was in shock. A child was left without his mother because of his desire for revenge. Izuku at that moment felt like he fell backwards. A life was lost because of him, and he was supposed to have those unique powers to defend them. Izuku with a gloomy look left the place. He felt very bad. He did not know what to do. So he went to the only place where he knew they could help him. Ding dong. Sayoki, I'm coming, she said this looking at how Yui was on the sofa. She opened the door, and the first thing she saw was Izuku. Oh, Izuku, what, she said, but she saw how Izuku was crying. Izuku, are you okay? She said this, attracting Yui's attention. Izuku had just hugged Sayoki with all his strength, since she was like a second mother to him. Izuku began to cry in her chest, worrying the two. Sayoki, come in, Izuku, sit down, she said this so Izuku would sit down. Wait, I'll bring you tea, she said this so Izuku would nod. Yui just sat next to Izuku while holding his hand. Even though Yui was dying of nerves, she knew that her secret love and best friend needed someone to comfort him. That would be her. After a while, Sayoki arrived with 3 cups of tea. Sayoki, would you mind telling me what happened? She said in a loving tone, while Yui remained silent. Izuku, he said, crying, I went to a store, and I didn't have enough for my purchase. I was going to take some coins from the completed, but the cashier didn't let me. I was about to leave, but then a robber arrived, and gave me my purchase so I could leave. The cashier asked me why I didn't stop him. And I didn't do it out of revenge, he said, clenching his fists. When I was returning home, I saw a group of people. When I approached, I saw a child crying over his mother's corpse, he said, leaving the 2 women in shock. When the child gave the statement of who killed her, I couldn't believe it. It was the same guy who robbed the store. Because of me, that child was left without his mother, he said, breaking down. I couldn't do anything, he said, crying. I'm garbage, he said this, but Sayoki and Yui quickly hugged him. Sayoki, of course not, Izuku, you're not trash. It wasn't your fault that happened. You didn't know. You have nothing to do with it. Yui, yes, it wasn't your fault, right? You're not guilty of anything, she said while hugging Izuku. Izuku, thank you, he said in a whisper. Sayoki, you're welcome, Izuku. You know you're like a son to me, so look, today you'll stay here, she said so Izuku would nod. You'll stay in Yui's room, she said, blushing. Yui. Izuku and Yui had already slept together, but Yui never dared to hug the green-haired boy or anything like that. Today she would do it. She had to comfort him. Sayoki, well, it is better that you sleep, and tomorrow you should start studying for the UA exam, she said, so that the two went up to Yui's room. Izuku, I know how you feel, having those incredible powers and not being able to help anyone. You must feel terrible. Your mother told me to watch you so that you do not use them for anything bad. But apparently I can trust you, she said, smiling. I trust that you will take care of Yui with your life. That is why I have accepted you, Izuku Midoriya. You will be someone great, she said with a big smile to turn off the lights. I go to sleep. The news short caption. We see a trembling Izuku. Izuku, because of me, that child was left without his mother. Now what will I do? I am a bucking murderer. I indirectly helped the child's mother die. I am shit, he said, releasing light tears, but felt someone hug him from behind. Yui? He said in a whisper. She is sleeping, he said calmly. Control yourself, Izuku. You have to be strong for her. If you are not strong for her, then who will protect her? Just sleep, he said to himself to sleep again. After that, Izuku fell asleep, where this time he decided to wake up late. The previous day had been very tiring. After that, about 4 minutes after 9, Yui woke up, and the first thing she saw was how she had Izuku hugging her. Yui at that moment was more than red, but she was not stupid. She was not going to let go. She enjoyed everything she could in the green-haired man's chest, sticking her head to him. After an hour, Izuku was half waking up. But not enough. Tiredness continued to win over him. He woke up still asleep, and the first thing he saw was Yui super red. He just gave her a kiss on the mouth and went back to sleep. Yui was in shock. Izuku kissed her? He had a lost red look. He didn't know what to do. But he realized that Izuku was just sleeping. He thanked God for that luck, and he just continued cuddling up to the green-haired boy's chest. After that, Izuku finally woke up just to see how he had Yui on his chest. Izuku, she's so beautiful when she's asleep, he said this, but what he didn't know is that Yui was awake. Yui, I'm beautiful? She said with a blush. Izuku, of course, he said, giving her a thumbs up, making her blush even more. Well, I'm going to change my shirt, he said, getting up. Yui blushed at that moment like never before. The green-haired boy had a perfect body with scars to match it, and a perfect chocolate bar on his abdomen. She only released a slight stream of blood from her nose looking at the green-haired boy. Yui, she said with a blush. Izuku, Yui, are you okay? He said worriedly. Yui, oh yes, just a slight accident. Let's go change, she said, lifting her nightgown, leaving her only in her bra. Yui didn't care that Izuku saw her since she had been with him all her life. Although she loved him, it wasn't something new, and she knew how innocent Izuku was. He never looked at Yui with perverted eyes. Izuku rather looked at Yui with loving eyes. Izuku had feelings for Yui, although he didn't know it. He was so innocent that he didn't know what love was, so he thought it was just his thing, so he wouldn't say anything to Yui. After that, the two went downstairs only to find Sayuki preparing breakfast. Sayuki, good morning guys, she said with a sad smile. Izuku, what's wrong, miss, are you okay? He said while looking at Sayuki. Sayuki, daughter Izuku, we have to talk, she said, somewhat sad. This morning I received a message from work. I was promoted, she said, making the two young people happy. But I have to move, she said, leaving Izuku and Yui in shock. Yui, but mom, we can't do that, she said sadly. Sayuki, here's what I wanted to tell you, she said, looking at the two. Yui, I know you want to study at UA, so you'll stay at Izuku's house. Izuku/Yui, yes, they both shouted excitedly. Yui, living with Izuku, she said with a blush. Izuku, it will be great, he said, making Yui blush even more. Getting used to it and the UA. We see how Yui and Izuku enter this one's house. Izuku, well Yui, this will be your home. I hope you like it, he said this to see how Yui had stars in her eyes. Yui, you're joking, it looks like a mansion. Look, there's a gym, a pool, a big TV, I could spend hours here, she said, sitting on the sofa. Izuku just laughed at how cute Yui looked. He promised Yui's mother that he would protect her at all costs, no matter if he had to give her life. Izuku, do you want to eat? He asked this, so Yui agreed quickly. Yui, yes, your food is delicious, she said with a silly smile. Izuku, well, then I will prepare katsudon, he said this so that Yui agreed. After that they studied a little, and at Yui's request they would sleep in the same room. Izuku did not care about this since he was used to sleeping with Yui. But Yui, she was red, she was not used to sleeping next to Izuku. She liked it, yes, but she blushed every time she did it. But she felt a sense of tranquility, protection when she was with him. The two fell asleep. Yui began to hug Izuku unconsciously, and he did too. And so it was. As the month passed for the UA exam, the two had prepared a lot and were ready. Now we can see them at the entrance of the UA ready to take the exam. Izuku ready? He said nervously. Yui, no, and you? She said it's the same. Izuku, less, but let's go in. He said this so that Yui would nod. For Izuku the test was relatively easy, that was because he studied a lot. But for Yui it was somewhat difficult, but she got the points to enter. After that the two left the facilities and returned home. Time skipped 1 week. Yui, Izuku, get up, we're going to be late, she said, moving Izuku. Izuku, 5 more minutes, he said, moving. Yui, I didn't want to do this. She slowly took Izuku's ear and began to open it. Izuku, she shouted in his ear, only to see with grace how Izuku suddenly stood up. Izuku, what's wrong, Yui? He said, scared. Yui, we'll be late, she said, somewhat worried. Izuku quickly went downstairs, made some breakfast, went upstairs to shower, changed, and went downstairs to have breakfast with Yui. Yui, you really did that in such a short time, she said, surprised. Izuku, yes, let's go now, he said, this to start running with Yui to the UA. These quickly arrived and saw the great school. These entered. Yui, which one did you get? Izuku, Class S, he said, worried about being late. Yui, seriously, but it is assumed that only women of social influence enter that class, she said, a little jealous. I got Class B, she said, a little sad. Izuku, well, never mind, I'll see you at lunch. Don't change me, he said, giving Yui a kiss on the forehead. Yui, of course not, silly, she said, this to leave. After that Izuku was searching the halls. Izuku, S class, S class, S class, here it is, he said, standing in front of a door. It's bigger than a normal door, he said, surprised. Well, let's go in, he said seriously. Class 1S. We see Izuku in front of his classroom door. Izuku, well, you come in, say hello, sit down, shut up, come in, say hello, sit down, shut up, come in, say hello, sit down, shut up. It's not that difficult, he said to open the door. When he opened the door, everyone looked at him strangely, even the teacher. Empty lady, what are you doing here, boy? She said, confused. This is Class S. Izuku, yes, I know, but they gave me a paper saying that I'm in Class S, he said, confused. Empty lady, but if this class is only for daughters of influential people, wait, I'll ask, he said to call the director. Nizu, hello? Said a man of small stature and a scar on his eye. Empty lady, there's a guy named Izuku Midoriya here who says he's in the S class, is that true? She said, confused. Nizu, yes, I made an exception with him. Empty lady, oh, okay, thanks, she said to hang up. Okay, boy, if it's true, sit next to Setsuna, she said to point to a girl with green hair and teeth a little more pointed than normal. Izuku, life really hates me, he said resignedly. Hey girl, it's nice to see you again, he said with a smile that made several people blush. Setsuna, hey kid, how have you been? She said with a smile. Izuku, well, training, studying, you already know the basics, he said, shrugging his shoulders. Setsuna, do you train? She said, confused. Izuku, yes, he said, this as if it were nothing. Setsuna, then why do you wear clothes so big for your size? Izuku, I don't like my body being seen. Empty lady, let's see, you two shut up, class has already started. She said this so that the two would shut up. After Empty lady gave her class, it was time for the period change where students have a 10-minute break. They took advantage of that moment to meet Izuku. Psycho, hi there, boy, I'm Psycho Intelli, but you can call me Miss Intelli, she said with a nervous smile. Here it's not so bad. Izuku, nice to meet you, Miss Intelli, he said with a smile that made the girl blush a little. Momo, nice to meet you, I'm Momo Yaorozu, call me whatever you want, said the girl with a sincere smile. Izuku, yes, Momo, he said with a smile. Setsuna, I already introduced myself, but since I am Setsuna Tokage, I hope we can get along, she said smiling. Izuku, your teeth are amazing, he said, making the girl blush a little. Setsuna, what are you saying about my teeth? She said, laughing nervously while moving her hands from side to side. Kami, hello, nice to meet you, I'm Kami Utsushimi, said to girl animatedly. Melissa. I'm Melissa Shield. You can also call me whatever you want, said a cute blonde girl with glasses. Nijire. Finally, I am Nijire Hato. You can call me Nijire, she said while jumping. Izuku. Well, nice to meet you, my name is. The door opens. Aizawa. Nobody cares, go out and put this on. We'll do physical education with A and B. He said this so everyone agreed. Izuku. Well, I guess it will be later, he said before leaving. I'll go look for Yui, he said, quickening his pace. Training. We see how Class S headed to the gym only to meet Class A and B. Izuku at that time only went to talk to Yui, Kendo, and Reiko. Izuku. It's good that you were able to get in, he said with a smile. Reiko. It wasn't that difficult, she said proudly, but it's a shame that you didn't get to be with us, she said so that the other two would nod. Izuku. Well, for some reason I ended up in a girl's class, he said while stroking Yui's hair. Yui. I'm not a girl, she said, removing Izuku's hand from her hair. Izuku. Oh yeah, sorry, he said, scratching the back of his neck. Yui, what are you waiting for? Keep doing it, he said, placing Izuku's hand in his hair, drawing a drop of sweat from the girls who were watching. Izuku. See, you like it, he said, laughing. Yui. Yes, but what I don't like is that girl is in your classroom, she said, looking at Setsuna. Izuku. Don't worry, I would never change you. You are my best friend, he said with a smile. Yui. I'll change that, she said in a whisper. Izuku. What? He said, confused. Yui. Nothing, she said with a blush. Kendo and Reiko just watched this with a smile as their expressionless friend had someone looking after her but couldn't continue as the teacher in charge spoke. Aizawa. Okay guys, we'll have 1-versus-1 battles. They'll be paired between women versus women and men versus men, and they'll be random, he said this so everyone would nod. After a while and a few fights, it was Yui's turn. Yui. Wish me luck, she said with a smile. Izuku. You don't need it, he said with a smile that made her blush. Yui just nodded and headed to the platform. Aizawa. And Yui Kodai will go against Setsuna Tokage, he said this so that Setsuna would smile. Then the aforementioned climbed onto the platform and looked at Yui with a mocking look while the latter maintained a neutral look. Aizawa. Get started, he said this so that the two of them would be on guard. Setsuna. When I will go with Izuku and kiss him in front of you. You are unlucky to face me. I was waiting for this, she said to launch herself against Yui. Yui. Keep waiting, hit, she said, giving her a punch in the nose that knocked her out. Aizawa. Well, that was fast. Winner Yui Kodai, he said seriously. All in one fell swoop, these astonished people thought. Yui got down and headed towards where Izuku was. Yui. I did it. I want a prize, she said, hugging Izuku. Izuku. Today when we leave school I'll invite you to dinner, okay? He said this so that Yui nodded with a blush. Aizawa. Well, the last fight will be something special. It will be between the two best of Course A and Course S. He said this so that everyone would be amazed. Katsuki Bakugo of Course A against Izuku Midoriya of Course S. He said this to see how Bakugo put on a sly smile. Yui. Good luck, even if you don't need it. Kick his butt, she said with a smile. Izuku. Yes, I'll be right back, he said as he left. After a while the two of them climbed onto the sand. Bakugo. I recommend you give up. A piece of trash like you will never be able to defeat me, he said arrogantly, angering the S-class and Yui. Izuku. Yes, whatever you say, and if instead of barking they start fighting, he said with a smile. Bakugo. Trash, said this annoying one. Aizawa. Start, he said seriously. Everyone watched the fight attentively. They knew something good would happen. Bakugo ran up to Izuku and hit him in the face, but he didn't even flinch, surprising everyone. Izuku. That's it, he said with a smile to knee Bakugo in the stomach, throwing him to the ground, but he quickly stood up. Bakugo just stood up and tried to do the same, but Izuku dodged him again. But without realizing it, Bakugo held him by his shirt, but as his momentum was too much he ended up tearing it, leaving the green-haired boy's body exposed. Nobody believed it. The girls were blushing hard while Yui had a thread of blood running from her nose. Nobody imagined that the boy was so marked. They thought he was wearing baggy clothes to cover his bad body, but apparently it wasn't like that. Bakugo. What the buck? How are you like this trash? He asked angrily. Izuku. Training, he said, downplaying it. Bakugo. I don't care, I'll still win, he said. Bakugo quickly went to the green-haired boy and accidentally managed to grab him by the arm, pulling him back, but he didn't even flinch. Bakugo, come on, give up, he said, moving his arm even further back. Aizawa, Izuku, stand still, he couldn't continue. Izuku, who decided it? He said with a smile. He did something that surprised and disgusted everyone a little, as he dislocated his arm, freeing himself from Bakugo's grip and giving him a strong blow to the face that knocked him out. Aizawa, that was unexpected. The winner is Midoriya, he said with a bored tone. Izuku, trash, he said, this to go to where Yui is. He's mine. We see how everyone was staring at Izuku. Seriously dislocating his arm and putting it back together without showing pain was already extremely serious, but his muscles. The girls just looked at him with a blush, and Yui couldn't control her nosebleed, which worried Izuku. Izuku, Yui, are you okay? Yui. Izuku, Yui? He said, more worried. Yui. Izuku, Yui, answer me, he said, moving Yui from one side to the other. Yui. Oh yes, that's great, she said in a silly tone, but noticed that Izuku was watching her. What a great battle you had, Izuku. You deserve a prize, she said, hugging Izuku and pressing her cheek against his, making a few girls jealous. Izuku, heh, but you also won, so today we'll go eat after school at a restaurant, okay? He said with a smile. Reiko/Kendo, can we go? They asked, a little blushing. Izuku, of course you also won, why not? He said, smiling. Yui just watched this seriously. Her plan to have Izuku alone was gone, but she didn't complain much if it was with her two friends. After that, everyone went to their classrooms and one or another girl made insinuations to Izuku, but he did not understand them, and this only made the girls think he was cute. Yui looked at this with jealousy, and whenever she could she was possessive of Izuku so that they would not try to take him away. After that they arrived at Izuku's classroom where they said goodbye. Yui, so at the exit, she said, hugging Izuku, slightly raising her head since she is a little smaller. Izuku, yes, you're coming too, right? He said, looking at the two girls. Reiko/Kendo, yes, they said excitedly. Izuku, okay Yui, I'll see you at the exit, don't change me, he said, giving her a kiss on the forehead to enter his classroom. At this Yui just stood blushing and static under the amused gaze of Kendo and Reiko. They just pushed her into the classroom and left her in her seat. After half a class she was already reacting. Yui, yes, she shouted, but didn't realize that she was in her classroom. Vlad, yes, Miss Yui, said this curious man. Yui, nothing, she said, sinking into her desk. Kendo and Reiko just watched this with a few loud laughs. They thought it was cute how in love their friend was. After that the day passed very calmly until the time of departure. Everyone met at the entrance of the academy. They were about to leave, but suddenly they saw someone approaching. Setsuna. Izuku, she said, hugging the green-haired boy's arm and blushing. Where are you going? She said, ignoring the other two. Izuku P. Well, I'm going with Kendo, Reiko, and my girlfriend. Yes, my girlfriend Yui. So I'm sorry, Setsuna, we'll be late. Sorry, he said to run away so the girls could follow him. Setsuna. Coo, you should take care of him, girl. You don't know when I can take him away, she said, looking at Yui out of the corner of her eye. But at that moment Yui turned around and the two had a look where they both knew exactly what they were saying. Yui/Ibara. He's mine, hitch, they thought in unison. The exit. After that bitter moment we can see how the boys headed to a cafeteria. Izuku, Yui, sorry for saying you were my girlfriend, it's just that he was interrupted. Yui, no problem, Izuku, she said, standing on tiptoe to caress her hair. I wouldn't mind, she whispered with a blush. Izuku, did you say something? He said, confused. Yui, oh no, nothing, she said with a blush. Kendo, okay guys, so where are we going? She said, confused. Reiko, well, I saw that they opened a new hamburger restaurant in the mall, shall we go? She said this so that the other three agreed. After walking for a while they finally arrived at the shopping center where they entered the restaurant and ordered pizzas for the four of them, and while they waited for them they started talking. Kendo, hey Izuku, I have a question, he said, attracting the attention of those at the table. How the hell did you dislocate your arm? He said, moving Izuku from side to side. Yui, I have that question too, you worried me a lot, do you know? She said with a pout. Reiko, It seemed a bit disturbing to me too, she said with a nervous smile. Izuku, it's just that, how to explain it? Since I was little I've been undergoing hard training, she said this once so that everyone would nod, and that training hurts like hell. It hurts as if someone ripped off your arm or a leg, he said this one, scaring everyone a little, so a dislocated one didn't affect me much. Let's say, he said, smiling nervously. Reiko, and why do you train so hard? She said, somewhat worried. Oh, sorry, she said, watching how everyone was looking at her. But why do you train so hard? She said, worried. Izuku, because I want to protect those I love, he said, hugging Yui and making her blush. Yui, do you love me? She said, blushing. Izuku, do I love you? I adore you, he said, hugging Yui even more. You are my first friend and one of the only ones, he said in such an innocent tone that it made a few girls in the place blush. Kendo, and tell me, Izuku, have you had a girlfriend? He said this, trying to make Izuku blush and make Yui jealous. Izuku, no, I've never had one, he said, laughing. Yui, what are you planning? Penso is watching Kendo. Kendo, and why? She said, confused. Izuku, I'm honest with you, I don't know, he said. Kendo, but you know, a girlfriend accompanies you, guides you, and has fun with you and loves you, he said, enumerating them with his fingers to the point of looking like a schoolgirl in love. Izuku, really, that's what makes a girlfriend. He said this so the three of them agreed. So, I think Yui is my girlfriend, he said this, watching as Yui blushed masterfully. The girls just watched this with a proud smile. They achieved a new step for their friend to have the courage to declare themselves, but this was a giant one. Yui, and girlfriend? She said, blushing. Izuku, yes, girlfriend, he said with a big smile that made Yui blush. Kendo, then why don't you confess your feelings to her? He said, leaving Yui and Reiko in shock. They never thought it would go this far. Reiko, Kendo, don't you think we're going a little far? I whispered this to her. Kendo, if we succeed we can unite two souls that are destined to be together. Just think about it, he said this so that Reiko would think and then nod. Izuku, declare what? He said, confused. Kendo, well, ask him to be your waiter. The pizza, he said this to place the pizzas on the table. Izuku, hey, pizza, he said to start eating. Yui couldn't eat because she was so red, she already looked like a tomato. In fact, a tomato is small next to her. Izuku noticed this and became worried. Izuku, Yui, are you okay? He said worriedly. Yui, oh what, yes, pizza, she said, looking at the pizza and starting to eat it nervously. But she sees Izuku staring at her. What? She said, confused and blushing. Izuku, oh nothing, I'm just glad you're okay, he said with a smile that made her blush. After that they continued talking and eating until it was time to go home. Izuku and Yui said goodbye to Kendo and Reiko and each took their train. So the two left, and when Izuku and Yui got home he told her to go take a bath. She just agreed and went to take a bath and put on pajamas. Then Izuku came in and did the same. Later. Yui was asleep and Izuku couldn't stop thinking about what Kendo was telling him. Izuku, what is a girlfriend? He said, confused. I think I'll look for it, he said to take his cell phone and start searching. Bride. We can see Izuku in his bed with his face blushing from what he just saw. Izuku, so those are the boyfriends? He said with a red face. Do I have to call him honey or love? Wow, that's weird, he said, confused. The next day. We see Yui wake up before going to school to go down to have breakfast. When she goes down she can see how Izuku was preparing breakfast. Yui, good morning, Izuku, she said with a blush at seeing the green-haired boy's shirtless body. Izuku, good morning, honey, he said with a calm smile, leaving Yui in shock and with a blank look. Yui, see, honey, she said in shock. Izuku, yes, wait, he said looking at his cell phone. It says here that I have to tell you darling and give you kisses all the time, he said, approaching Yui and giving her a kiss on the forehead. Yui, realizing what was happening, quickly saw Izuku's cell phone. He had investigated that she was a girlfriend. She thought it was cute how innocent the green-haired boy was. Yui, why did you look for this? She said, confused and blushing. Izuku, well, after what Kendo said I realized that you do everything that a girlfriend does and then I think we are a couple, but I don't really know how it is done, At first I thought it was food, but then I looked at it up and that information came up. It says that if I am not a good boyfriend you can leave. And I don't want you to leave since you are the only person I have. He said this in a sad tone, causing Yui to pang in her chest. How tender the green-haired boy was, and it hurt her to see him sad. But she took advantage. This was her golden opportunity to keep all those lizards away from her. Izuku, he said, thinking about Setsuna. Yui, I'll never leave Izuku, and don't worry about being a good boyfriend, you already are, she said with a smile, but you have to ask me, she said impatiently. Izuku, oh yeah, this, Yui, do you want to be my girlfriend? He said this innocent. Yui couldn't help it, that luck, she was in tears and threw herself at Izuku to hug him. Yui, yes, 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 and 1,000 times yes, yes, I want to be your girlfriend, she said with some tears. Izuku, why are you crying? Did I do something wrong? He said worriedly. Yui, no Izuku, you didn't do anything wrong. It's because I'm happy, she said with a big smile. I love you Izuku, he said, raising his head to get a good look at him. Izuku, I love you too Yui, he said, hugging her tighter. Yui, now you have to kiss me, she said with a blush. Izuku, it's okay, he said, giving him a kiss on the forehead. Yui, oh no, she said this so Izuku could see her here, she said, pointing to her lips. Izuku, oh, a kiss between friends as Setsuna says? This innocent guy asked. Yui, what? She said with a cold look. Izuku, yes, Setsuna told me that if I kissed her there it was to strengthen the friendship and I wanted her to be my friend so I kissed her, he said innocently. Yui, that hit, she said, imagining Setsuna from now on. Izuku, you can only kiss me, you didn't hear any other girl? She said with a pout. Izuku, yes, he said in a military tone. Yui, now give me another one, she said this so Izuku would kiss her. Another one, she said, so Izuku would give her another kiss. Another one, she said, so Izuku would continue with the same thing. Another one. And so they were for a while, where Yui went to take a shower to put on her uniform. She was in the shower when she saw Izuku come in. Yui, 3 Izuku, what are you doing here? She said, blushing when she saw Izuku's body. Izuku, it says here that the bride and groom take a bath together, he said, showing his phone. Excuse me, he said, to get into the tub with Yui. Ah, how refreshing. So what do we do, he said, looking at Yui. Yui blushed and just turned around to see Izuku in the face. Yui, another one, she said this to point at her lips so Izuku could kiss her. And so the two bathed together now as a couple. Yui thanked God for Izuku's innocence. They were now boyfriends. They were on their way to the academy until they arrived. Yui, do you remember what I told you? She said seriously. Flashback. Yui, okay Izuku, from now on, you must not kiss any girl other than me. If Setsuna tells you that it is to strengthen the friendship, do not believe her. Second, if a girl approaches you and asks for your number, you give her mine without telling her that it is mine. And if a girl asks you out, you tell her that you belong to Yui Kodai. Is that clear? She said with a pout. Izuku, yes, my captain, he said, this one making a military salute. End flashback. Izuku, yes, do not disobey your orders, because if not you will castrate me, although I do not know what that is, but it sounds very painful, so I do not want you to do it, he said in a military pose. Yui, well, I'll see you at recess then, honey, she said, trying to make Izuku blush. But Izuku's innocence acted. Izuku, it's okay, honey, he said with a smile before starting to leave. Yui, hey, you're forgetting something, she said with a pout. Izuku, what? He said confused. Yui just points to her lips. Izuku, oh yeah, he said this one to give her a kiss. I love you, Yui. Don't change me, he said this one to leave. Yui, of course not, honey, she said with a smile. I hope no one takes advantage of her innocence. No, I already told her what she has to do, she said, to go to her classroom. Are they a couple? Izuku was heading to his classroom. He passed by a few classrooms where several girls were throwing compliments at him that he, being too innocent, couldn't until a girl stood in front of him. Tsuyu, hey you, give me your number, she said with airs of grandeur. Izuku, okay, he said this to give Yui's number without saying it was hers. After that he just left without giving any importance to the previous situation. Tsuyu, did it really work? She said with a blush. Mina, did he give it to you? Said a girl with pink dyed hair and yellow contact lenses. Tsuyu, yes, I could do it. I don't even think it was necessary to act so arrogant, she said, laughing a little. Kyuka, I thought I wouldn't give it to you, she said, laughing. Tsuyu, I don't think I even scared him, she said, laughing a little. Uraraka, but you saw him, he's very cute, said to a girl with somewhat chubby cheeks and an eternal blush with a brown mushroom hairstyle. Melissa, can I have her number? She said with a blush. All, and me, they said, equally blushing. With Izuku. He was arriving at the classroom, and when he entered he could see how all his classmates were already there. They looked at him with a blush until Setsuna stood in front of him. Setsuna, and the kiss of friendship? She said she is trying to kiss Izuku, but he pushed her away. What's wrong? She said she is a little nervous. Izuku, Yui says that I can't give kisses to reinforce friendship to anyone but her, and not to any lizard, he said, impressing everyone and offending Setsuna. Although I don't know what a lizard is, I think it's a big female lizard. I'll look for it later, he said with a smile. That made Setsuna stop the slap that was going to the green-haired boy. She understood it. The boy was very innocent, and she could use it to her advantage, but she would start slowly. Setsuna, hey Izuku, give me your number. It's for the group in the classroom, she said with a smile. At that moment all the girls jumped. Kami, and me, she said, raising her hand. Momo, me too, she said with a smile and a small blush. Nijire, hey Izuku, me too, yes, she said excitedly, jumping from one side to the other. With a smile that made the girls blush a little, he gave them Yui's number without saying anything. After that, he sat down, and after a while Yu arrived to continue with his class. I realized that in previous chapters one called her MT Lady, and there are supposed to be no powers here XD. After that the class continued normally until it was time for lunch, where Izuku went to sit with Yui, Kendo and Reiko. Yui, and how did it go, darling? He said, impressing the two girls. Reiko/Kendo, maybe you? They asked, surprised. Izuku, yes, we are a couple, although I'm still not sure how it works, but Yui already told me what I had to do, he said with a smile. Kendo, what did you say to him? She said, almost guessing that he took advantage of her innocence. Yui, nothing, I just told him that he can't kiss anyone else but me, and that every time a girl asked for his number, I should give her mine, she said with a smile. Oh, and also that if they ask him out, he should say no, and that he belongs to Yui Kodai, she said, eating from her plate, making the two girls sweat. Reiko, don't you think you're a little bit, possessive? She said nervously. Yui, no, should I? She said with her stoic face, making the girls nervous. After that, lunch went by with several insinuations from the girls towards Izuku, but one look from Yui was enough to drive them away. They continued eating in the most peaceful way in the world until the bell returned to the classroom range. Yui, you know Izuku, every time they ask you out? Izuku, I belong to Yui Kodai, he said, making a military salute. Yui, exactly. Well, I'm leaving now, she said, giving him a kiss on the lips, making several girls jealous. After that he left with a smile. He spent the normal day in his classroom with some other insinuation of the girls, but he did not understand them and only responded with a smile, these seeing that they could not stop trying, so until the day passed, and it was time to return to their homes. This as before, he went to classroom 1B and waited for Yui. When he saw how everyone left, he saw how a boy with blonde hair was bothering Yui. Monoma, come on, just accept it, he said, annoyed. Yui, how many times do I have to tell you no, she said, annoyed. Monoma, come on, you'll have fun, he said, touching Yui's butt. At that moment Yui got angry. Did they touch her butt? The only one with the right to do that was her Izuku. She was so upset that without waiting she hit Monoma, who was able to dodge it, and held Yui down. Yui, let me go, damn it, she said angrily. Izuku entered the room at that moment. Izuku, what's going on here? This innocent man asked. Yui, Izuku, you're hurting me, she said, shedding a few light tears. At that moment the atmosphere changed to a more tense one. Monoma could feel himself falling apart. For a moment he saw death himself. When he saw Izuku's fist approaching his face, he couldn't avoid it, and the blow knocked him out in less than a second. Yui quickly hugged the green-haired boy, hiding herself by sinking into his chest. Yui, thanks Izuku, she said, crying a little. Izuku, no one ever will hurt you if I'm here to stop it, he said with an annoyed look. Yui, yes, let's go, she said, taking the green-haired boy by the hand to leave. They quickly went to their house. They arrived, and the first thing Yui did upon arriving was to start kissing the green-haired boy. She climbed on top of him, and in a reflex action he held her so that he would not fall. She hugged him by the neck and continued kissing him, and he reciprocated the kisses that Yui gave him. She was going to continue, but she heard her phone vibrate. Yui, put me down, darling, she said this so that Izuku would obey the order and put her down. Izuku, did I do something wrong? He said sadly. Yui, no, you didn't do anything wrong, it's just that I got a message, she said with a smile. But that smile faded the moment he saw the message. Unknown number. Hi Izuku, look, I wanted your opinion on my new UA sneaker, and if you're wondering what I have in my mouth, it's something we'll be using very soon. 3. Yui at that moment annoyed answered the message. Yui, hey you bucking lizard, you know that Izuku is mine, so don't come near him again. With hatred, his girlfriend. Setsuna, I already said that you had told him something. Don't sing victory girl, at any moment that candy will be mine, she said to block Yui. Out chat. Yui, hit, she said this annoying. Izuku, who is Zora? This innocent man asked. Yui, nobody darling, let's continue, she said with a smile. Izuku, if you want, he said this to carry Yui again and start kissing her. Yui, I will never get tired of this, she said with a silly smile while being carried by Izuku while he kissed her. Would you accept me? We can see the couple heading to the academy. The girls watched with jealousy as the green-haired boy carried Yui, and she hugged his neck. After a while they reached the hallway where they separated to go to their classrooms. Yui, you know Izuku, don't believe anything Setsuna tells you, she said while Izuku agreed. Well, I love you honey, she said, giving him a kiss that Izuku reciprocated. Izuku, I love you too, he said, giving her a kiss. Well, see you later, don't change me, he said to go to his classroom. Yui, you always tell me that, it's obvious that I will never change you, she said, smiling, something very rare in her. After that, everyone went to their classroom, where the first thing that happened to the green-haired boy when he entered was that he received a hug from Setsuna, who hung on him like a koala, making a few girls jealous. Setsuna, you're bad. Izuku, why didn't you give me your number? She said with a pout. Izuku, it's just that Yui told me that. Setsuna, Yui this, Yui that, she said, somewhat irritated. She has always told you what to do, right? She said while the green-haired boy agreed. And you have never thought about what you want to do, she said, seeing how the green-haired boy looked at her confused. Izuku, how? He said confused. Setsuna, why do you do what she tells you? Why don't you just do what you want? She said this so that the green-haired boy could understand. Izuku, well, she's the only family I have in Japan and I wouldn't want to lose her, he said with a sad smile. At that moment the girls' hearts sank as they saw their most innocent and kind companion become sad. Setsuna, but you haven't thought about doing what you want, which is what Izuku Midoriya wants to do, he said. He's to make the green-haired boy trying angry with Yui or something. Izuku, I want to be with Yui, he said with a smile. Class is about to start, he said, sitting down while watching the teacher enter. Setsuna, I guess I'll try later, she said, irritated. After that the day passed quietly, but not for the green-haired boy. He had a mental dilemma. Yui would still love him if she knew about his abilities. He had not thought about that until he rethought Setsuna's words. She was right. She would accept the Izuku Midoriya who has powers. The day of study was over, and with that the students had to go to their houses. The moment they got home, Yui was going to kiss the green-haired boy, but he seriously told her to sit on the couch. This scared Yui a little since she thought something had happened to her, but she couldn't imagine what was coming. Yui, what's wrong, honey? She said, worried. Izuku, Yui, I have a question, he said seriously. Yui, which one? She said worriedly. Izuku, you would accept me if you knew I was not normal, he asked seriously. A pause, really awkward, formed. Isn't that normal? What did he mean by that? Yui quickly asked. Yui, what do you mean you're not normal? She said, confused. Izuku, Yui, I have something to tell you, he said seriously. He told her about the family heirloom, the elemental gem. Yui was surprised by such a story. She never imagined that something like this existed, but… Yui, and what does that have to do with you? She asked curiously. Izuku, Yui, I am the bearer of that gem, he said, running a finger across his chest, revealing that it was makeup covering the gem embedded in it. I am the bearer of the elemental gem, he said seriously. I still love you. We can see the dense atmosphere between the two young people. Yui was confused. What was Izuku trying to tell her? Yui, Izuku, she said, upset. Did you get piercings? She said, upset, it can't be. My boyfriend is a reggaeton singer, she said, crying. It doesn't matter. I accept you with all your flaws, she said, crying comically. Izuku, no Yui, it's not a piercing, he said seriously. Yui, so you're telling me that you have a gem embedded in your chest that is capable of giving you the ability to control the 4 elements? She said, confused. Izuku, technically, he said, shrugging his shoulders. Yui, Izuku, tell me what you got into and I swear I won't get angry, she said, stroking his right side of the hair. But she was in shock when she saw how the left side of the green-haired boy began to sprout flames. Ace Todoroki? Yui, what? She said in shock. Izuku, it's no joke, Yui. I am the bearer of the elemental gem, the chosen one to stop the Yakuza, he said seriously. The atmosphere became even heavier. Yui did not know what to say, but she began to notice how light tears fell from the green-haired boy and she became worried. Yui, what's wrong, honey? She said worriedly. Izuku, it's just that I'm afraid that you'll see me like someone weird, and that you'll move away from me. I don't want you to move away from me, but I wanted to know if you would accept me even knowing what I am and what I'm destined for, he said, crying, but he moved back a little when he felt Yui's weight on him. Yui, I will always love you, Izuku. I will always be with you, and if you have a mission, it is my duty as your girlfriend to support you in that mission, she said with a big smile that made Izuku blush. He looked so cute blushing, she thought. Izuku, why Yui? Yui, he said this while hugging Yui while crying, I love you. You are the only person I have. Thank you for accepting me, he said, crying. Yui, I will always be there for you, Izuku, in good times and bad, no matter what, she said, smiling at him. Now, do we continue where we left off? She said, starting to kiss Izuku as she climbed on him, and he reciprocated. The next day, we can see our favorite couple heading towards their living rooms. Yui, you know, Izuku, don't believe anything that lizard says, she said with a pout. Izuku, Setsuna? This innocent man asked. Yui, yes, we're doing well like this, she said, clapping lightly. Izuku, well, I'm leaving, he said, giving her a kiss on the forehead. See you at the exit. Don't change me, he shouted to leave. Yui, I will never do it. Then I will ask him how his powers work and that thing about the Yakuza. Wow, you had it well hidden, Izuku, but it doesn't matter. I still love you, she said, and also left with a blush.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.